Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how does he know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Ooh, wrong background. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. My name is Jen, and decoding the matrix for us is Danny Guru.
Jen, it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to be here tonight, too. How are you?
I'm actually pretty good. I'm excited for this evening's topic. I've been going over a few things.
It's going to be interesting to do this one. You said I haven't really been keeping up with what's been in the headlines, but
The only reason we picked this one because he went on Joe Rogan.
Yes.
You know, I'm starting to think Joe Rogan is like this stopping place that people have to go in order to say a thing and then say they said it. Because Joe has got this way of pulling things out of people. I mean, you can see they don't want to talk about it. And then he's got an interrogator's technique to him. It's amazing. I like watching him in action.
We may have to do his chart just to see.
We have to do his chart.
What's going on.
He's been pulling out some of the biggest news we've needed to have to courtesy Joe Rogan. I mean, I'm not even kidding. We needed the news, and Joe Baby pulled it out.
Yes, but he's also playing for the other side as well. So keep that in mind.
So I can't quite tell, probably because everyone seems to have to stop there. I mean, even Fauci was on it.
Exactly.
Everyone stops there. Big people stop there, you know.
Yep.
What the heck is he doing going on Joe Rogan? Why?
Exactly. Why is he going on Joe Rogan?
Why did Sanjay Gupta go on to Joe Rogan and totally spill the beans about, you know, all the stuff that you couldn't talk about for early treatment? You know, on and on. There's been so many. And all the people we needed to hear have gone on Joe Rogan. Then Joe got censored for it. So I know he's, you know, my vote for Joe is he's a patriot. Whether he's a stopping ground on purpose or not, I guess is up. But I think he's doing us a favor as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, he's definitely serving a part. I'm not going to deny that. So,
Yes. And funny stuff comes out of it. It's amazing. It's like, you said that. Did you just say that? You said that. So we're going to see something. What we'll see is a person struggling like we constantly see. We see suddenly mind get involved. It can't be the truth. This man, when we get into his chart, we'll see where he stutters, stalls, and there's two really nice hard questions. And it's hard. You got to pay attention. It takes about a minute, and you'll see him. And it's like mind. As soon as you see that, you know the mind is involved. Say this, measure it that way. And this man has a train wreck. And this man has a splenic inner authority. So those things are coming through as a hit in the moment. So everything from the first split second on after is the train wreck.
Guys, if you don't know who we're talking about, we're going to be doing Mark Zuckerberg tonight. So.
Oh, yeah, you might as well make the rest of the announcement.
Yes. Oh, and before we do dive in, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. We appreciate everybody who is chiming in and sharing the show out. It is much appreciated.
Much appreciated. This is episode number what? And today's the 31st.
This is episode number 20, and it is August 31st. So We're wrapping up August.
Right. With a bang.
Yep.
Let's pull up Miss Senor Zuckerberg.
All right.
So, we can watch this. Let's watch the clip first. And you're looking for, there's a couple of hard questions coming up where he asks, one of the questions he asked is, did you want to do that or something like that? Was it supposed to be like that? And the other one was, you can tell it's a tough reporter style question. And there's two of them over the course of about a minute and a half here. Play it.
How does that work? It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
What they're talking about is the Hunter Biden laptop story. Sorry, I should have set that up. They're talking about the Hunter Biden and how what is Twitter just chopped it. Twitter did that infamous move. The New York Post said, hey, the Hunter Biden thing, that's a thing. And they went on the New York Post's official Twitter page, and Twitter shut them down. They shut down their account.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We all got to witness, well, if you were paying attention, we got to witness the chopping block that Twitter did last year.
Look at this investigator's face, first of all. He's about to start asking some tough questions. And but he always slides it in all smooth because Joe's so friendly, man. And he's about to ask some tough questions of him on what he did with Hunter Biden's laptop story.
Okay.
And we'll find out. He took a middle of the road approach. Is what he's about to say.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But I mean,
that was the first tough question. Yeah, that was the first tough question. Back it up to, there you go.
The distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it. You could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But I mean, but basically,
it's meaningful.
He doesn't know.
A lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper political issue. So depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's a very professional law enforcement. If they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specific, but it basically fit the pattern.
When something like that turns out to be real,
it fit the pattern.
Is there regret for not having it evenly distributed and for throttling the distribution of that story?
What do you mean evenly distributed?
I mean evenly in that it's not suppressed. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, because it turned out after the fact. The fact checkers looked into it. No one was able to say it was false, right? So basically, it had this period where it was getting less distribution.
So you see what he's done there. He's been asked a couple of difficult questions, and if you back it up now to minute 4 and 30 seconds, you'll see how he talks about the FBI came to him, and that was a jaw drop moment.
4 and 30 seconds?
Yeah, right about there. That's good. Yep. Play that for a moment.
People in our community can appeal cases to when they think that we got it wrong, and that board actually gets to make the final binding decision, not us. So in a way, I actually think that is a more legitimate form of governance than having just a team internally that makes these decisions, or maybe some of them go up to me, although I don't spend a ton of my time on this on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's generally good to have some kind of separation of powers where you're architecting the governance, so that way you have different stakeholders and different people who can make these decisions, and it's not just like one private company that's making decisions even about what just happens on our platform.
How do you guys handle things when they're...
Sorry, let it play for 1 second, Jen.
A big news item that's controversial. Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Yeah,
we have it too.
What was that?
Yeah. Keep it here. Keep it rolling.
Yeah. So you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team. It was like, hey, just so you know, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. For the, I think it was
there.
for 7 days.
Liar! I'm going to totally post this video in the link description for you guys to find it.
So the struggling, you see all that mind work going on. He asked how did it come in, and the guy starts talking about how, oh, the FBI came, and then suddenly he's stuck for descriptive words. No, they sent him a very specific memo. He's not stuck for descriptive words. He's stuck for words that don't describe exactly what he got. The FBI came to him and said, hey, there's this thing, and we want you to throttle it. And so...
Yes. Well, because Facebook has always been controlled by the government. That's the whole reason we have
controlled might even be a tough word, but regardless, these two work together. So their interests align, and so really it's their interests control them both. Mm-hmm. That's what we're all up against, and so forth. And so you can watch. What I'm getting at is this man has struggled throughout this whole 5 to 6 minutes to like say the right thing, and he literally had a hard time with all of that because he's on the spot here. Again, I don't know why they come on to Joe Rogan. I don't know what this is a marching order of some sort. He had some
I was just gonna say that they're told to.
Yeah, there's something going on because he's got way too much to lose.
Joe Rogan is definitely serving a purpose for some reason. I mean, they have to We operate in a container of free will. They have to tell us information of what they're doing. They have to put it out there. So they have actors. He's an actor too. Lorena said that too in the comments. We're literally watching a movie right now. So we are. Yep. He just lost his script in that moment.
Right. Did the FBI tell you to do that? Well,
because he knows that they're watching him.
Well, of course, and plus he's got to play some kind of middle of the road game here to save face for Facebook, to somehow on a larger scale, and to not give away a spot all at the same time. So to be on here and do that, and then not wanting to say how much it was throttled by, and he said, by what percentage? I forget. No, you know how much by. You got it by a bunch. At least he did say it was meaningful. He did say that. But after this, the news stories that showed up everywhere were all about, dude, the FBI approaches these places and asks them to do stuff. Because that's what he did. He told us that the FBI comes and asks them to do stuff.
Absolutely.
So let's go to his chart and see where Mark started and where he may be now. Again, I have a great deal of sympathy in certain respects for all these people. And in one way, they didn't start out this way. They weren't born this way. Doesn't matter what they were born into. They were not born this way. They had to learn all of this stuff, Jennifer. And it's a wicked, sad state of affairs.
Oh, yes, it really is.
We can get rid of author, spiritual leader, and channeler.
Oh, yeah, I meant to change that.
Pretend there's a strike through on all of that.
Yes, I meant to change that. No, I wanted to go see what they labeled him as.
That's so funny. Whatever, an entrepreneur on Facebook and this and that. So here's a person who's always going to dream about what to do next. His incarnation cross, when you look at this chart, you see that he is a transpersonal being. That is a 6-2 profile. We see a lot of these 6-2s. We see an open head. We see a lot of an open head profiles and the people that are being given marching orders. We see that he is he's a projector. So what I'm noticing is there seems to be a lot of projectors in this group. Projectors are guides. They help steer a direction. That's what projectors do. So here's Mark.
He definitely did that.
Huh? Yeah.
Somebody also gave him one hell of an invitation too.
Yeah. So he got invitations like there's no tomorrow. And so a couple things that stand out with Mark. Let me see, 50 line 4. Okay. So This incarnation costs 2343. Look, that's a definition from his ajna to his throat. So that's from the green triangle pointing down. That's that 43 in the green triangle pointing down and 23.
Oh, okay. I was.
So, yeah, the channel of structuring. This is all about finding new ways to create efficiencies. This is, and it's deaf to the other. This is where you're a genius or you're not. This is where literally nobody wants to hear what you have to say, or they want to hear exactly what you have to say. This is this has to communicate. The channel of structuring is a design of synthesizing thousands of insights into speech and articulating it. And so this man is loaded with a noisy head, mental activity, tons going on. And so he's always got lots of concepts. And then look, there's a gate 16 off of this throat center. So he gets enthusiastic about his concepts, wicked enthusiastic. Look, yes. So, and look, on the throat is also a gate 56, and it's unconscious. Mark Zuckerberg is designed to stimulate the world with that which he feels called into. He's a design of stimulating the world with that which he feels called into. And he doesn't know that. He has to be called into it. He's driven. Look at his moon on his design side is in gate 56, line 2, in detriment. And when I go to that and read that line, 52 in detriment, 56, what I get is it's supposed to be linkage, but it's superficiality which collapses upon recognition. It's a gift for communicating, but with nowhere near enough depth. He's got a gift for stimulating the rest of the world, but not providing the depth. He's got a gift for that. So
interesting.
And it's in his mood. So he's driven to basically stimulate stuff. And please don't make me go too deep. Now, in a 5-year-old, there's nothing wrong with that. And a regular person, there's nothing wrong with that. They're stimulating on the surface. So Mark Zuckerberg knows he doesn't like to be out in public because he's never got much of a deep button. What to do? When it comes to how he's going to stimulate you with what he wants to see done. And what does he want to see done? Look, he's got a gate 35 that's unconscious in his throat. This is the gate of progress. That's also in a second line. Mark is called into suddenly recognizing he wants to have the expectations met. Gate 35 wants to manifest what that whole stream of awareness is trying to produce. New experiences, exciting experiences. It clings and holds on to feelings, turns them into desires, and wants them satiated. I expect this to work out this way. I expect I'll own the company. I expect my message will get out. I expect people won't try and challenge me. I expect I'll say the right stuff on Joe Rogan. I expect.
Yes.
It's unconscious in him. It shows up. I expect people I expect to make all the billions. I expect to own Facebook.
Expectations always lead to disappointment.
More than just disappointment, they also expect. They say good intentions pave the road to hell. They may. I say good intentions are the sidewalks on the road to hell. The actual road to hell is paved with these expectations. So
Well said.
all of this is going on inside of his head center, and it's being expressed out of his throat center. And so, where's his biggest trip? Where's the trip for Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah,
now,
where is the trip?
The trip is he is a split definition. Do you see where down at the bottom we have this channel that goes from 38 to 28, from the root up to the spleen? There she blows. That's the channel of struggle, stubbornness. This is where a person wants to fight for whatever it is they're going to try and get out, and they'll fight for it, and they'll fight for it, and they'll struggle until they get it, and they'll do so, and they'll even take risks in doing so. They'll take amazing risks because they have to find a purpose. Mark is always searching for his purpose. And guess what? His depth doesn't always go deep enough for him to know what all of that really is. It's unconscious in him. So all he's really got to replace it with is making money, having lots of power, and being important. That's Mark in his adult life.
Yeah.
Mark as a child was perfect. His mom could have come along and said, hey, you don't have to worry about not getting that. It's in the struggle. The struggle is the purpose. And as a 4 and 5-year-old, he could have been, oh, this is great. I remember when he took over Facebook, it was a hostile takeover. There were other people involved, totally other people involved, and he cut them all out. They all got cut out through legal maneuverings, which he was stimulated enough to go ahead and create a shallow story for, and then he got away with it.
Yeah.
And then he became the sole owner, and there was a lot of bitterness on the other side, obviously, like, why'd you do that? How dare you do that? Well,
I'm pretty sure he got the invitation to do that.
Oh, he did. That's the thing. He keeps getting called into doing this. As a projector, everybody, if you're here to recognize where you feel recognized, but if you're acting out the old seven-centered conditioning that he grew up with, as he got conditioned away from his nature, he'd be acting out the desire to fulfill becoming important. That's all he'd be. That's what he ends up battling out. And notice all of his definition is individual. The channel of struggle and the channel of structuring, these are both in the individual circuitry. So he's deaf to what others say. He's got a second line in his profile. He's deaf to what others say. It doesn't mean he doesn't have two ears and can't hear. He can hear, and sometimes he's listening quite intently, but on his terms only. The rest of the time, he's locked up in a little bubble away from it all. He wants to stay away from society generally. You just don't see much of Mark. You know, if he felt really good about what he was, you'd see a lot more of him. But he knows he's stuck in this really crappy place, having to go between two separate things, wanting all the power that comes with it. And then, look, no emotions, no solar plex, no ego, and an open head.
That.
Right. So that means he's terribly afraid of the confrontation. So as soon as a couple feds show up, they define him emotionally, and immediately he folds. We don't need you to do this. The government needs you.
That's why he got picked.
Huh?
That's why he got picked.
Oh, you know, there you go. Good point, Jen. You know,
he's the one that easily was able to fold quickly, sell their soul.
You put a couple guys around him. If he doesn't have his whole rat pack and his whoever that is, when I say rat pack, you know, like if he doesn't have his pack of people, then he's immediately overcome. He's immediately overcome with that emotional wave. He fears the confrontation. Okay, sure, censor it. I'll throttle it some. Sure. Does it have to be? You know, I'll go on Joe Rogan and say I had a hard time making the decision, and I'll say stuff like that. You know, so he may have had a hard time making the decision. In all fairness, he may have looked at that and been like, I don't want to do what you say. He's totally individual. I have no doubt that when the FBI came to him and said, we need you to do this, that his first instinct is, I don't want to do what you say. Don't try to influence me. I promise you that was his first instinct. But they put that emotional wave into him, and then they made him have to prove his value. And he won't be able to prove his value if he doesn't do what they say. Open ego, always feels unworthy. Have to make more to prove I'm worthy. I control this, but he goes to sleep every night not knowing if he's worthy. Open G center. He's wondering about the love and direction in his life. Is this wife too good for me? Is she too pretty? Is she looking at someone else? Am I worthy to have this? I hope the FBI doesn't show up tomorrow. I feel a conflict. I'm going to avoid conflict. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to hire everyone to do everything for me. And I'll just say stuff when I absolutely have to. And that's what he does.
Yeah, that is what he does.
So I have no doubt that Mark Zuckerberg feels in a difficult place. He's got a gate 10 defined twice in his body graph. Gate 10 is the potential for the love of self. And it's definitely, for him, it's a trial and error process. Look at those two gate 10s in Neptune. Gate 10, line 3, gate 10, line 3. Line 3 is mutative, it's adaptive, and it bumps into things. Mark is constantly bumping into the trouble he gets into. His behavior draws him to the focus of the attention that he doesn't want. And it's in Neptune, so it's veiled. If he tries to figure out what's my behavior here, what am I doing wrong? As soon as he goes in and tries to figure it out, he gets punished. So if we ever see Mark on the hot seat, it's because he was trying to figure out what to do with his mind.
I was just thinking that. I'm pretty sure he'll be the one that folds. That's how this is all going to probably come to a head, is that once they start turning on each other, man, it's going to be get your popcorn.
Get your popcorn. Mark Zuckerberg, of all the people that might actually land somewhat on their feet, let's say we had to have a bet and we had the top 50 guys that we know are really a mess in our society, from Trudeau down through these guys and the guys over in Davos and the women, the guys and gals. Let's say we pick the top 30 of them. If you had to say one might land on their feet, I might be predisposed to pick this guy. He struggled with purpose. Who would you pick?
I don't know.
Or you got a choice? I mean, Hillary, of course, seems like she'll land on her feet, but
hell no, man. We need.
George Soros may just
keep my mouth shut on that, but
Yeah,
no, I do not think Hillary will land on her feet.
Nope.
She'll be lucky to have her head.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I don't know. I don't
either.
I see, being from a business aspect and marketing and stuff like that, I see why he's a millionaire. And we literally, as business people, when you invest in marketing, especially through Facebook, you are paying them to literally spy on other people. Right. It blew my mind learning some of the stuff that you can do with Facebook. You can narrow down an ad to specifically target just that one person's Facebook.
Well, look, so he's this transpersonal being. He's on the left angle cross of dedication. So he's always looking out over to the other. He's always looking into the other. He's a projector. So he's by definition looking into the other all the time. So he always needs the other. He's a split definition. So he always needs the other. So here's a hermit that bumps into things that doesn't want to have to need people. And he's got the channel struggle. He's got these two individual channels that are just, they will do anything to basically win enough of their own privacy to not have to answer questions and do stuff. So that's why I'm saying, he's going to find a way to basically try and rise above all of that. I don't know if you noticed, but he talked about the stakeholders. He said the word stakeholders. That was an announcement. Mark Zuckerberg will be a stakeholder. But when I look at his inability to know when enough is enough, as he thinks about things that don't matter and can't tell his own direction and fears the conflict, and this person, just look at his face, look at his glossy eyes. This guy is literally going to fold and be the first canary in the coal mine. I shouldn't say first, but my guess is that with the right pressure, he's just going to fold unless he's got some real high marching orders.
I think he already really has. Like, I don't, I just
like he doesn't want any of this. Do you think? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, well, I can't sit there and say I feel at one point in time these, when you go back to studying or researching how these people were raised, again, it's all the stuff that they do to the kids. It's all for the kids at the end of the day, guys. It all goes back to your childhood. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he's already, I personally don't think he's human looking at him right there. I think we're looking at a transhuman, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure that the program of Mark Zuckerberg is running. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first one to fold. Well, it's going to be interesting.
I see things I hear differently. You already know. I see them a little more black and white. I haven't come around far enough yet to see some of these things. To me, I see a flesh and blood man with a design, and so
I see a lizard.
Yeah, I know you do, Jen. It's all good. So this is called diversity. I love it. Thank you, Jennifer.
I'm just going to say it. I see a lizard.
You did say it. So. And I don't care for any of the stuff that he's allowed to happen. All I care right now is because it's already there in place that I hope he is the cat to fold ultimately, because while he's got all the fight in him to fight for a thing, he won't do it until that second line shell is so pierced that he is called out to fight for his survival. When that happens, out will come the natural, and this gate 2 line 2 in his body graph. Do you see off that G center?
Yes.
Yeah, gate 2 is facing down off the bottom. And so this is intermittent in him. Yep. He's been showing up with this over and over again. It's called genius, natural genius. Gate 2 is this unlearnable, untrainable alignment to the stimulus and to the response process, the natural. Whatever comes in, he suddenly aligns to it. Joe Rogan's asking questions, I'm going to align to it. Nobody thinks to themselves that we can really look into their eyes while they're talking and watch the mind get involved and know that something is BS. So they don't know that. They think they did a good job. They haven't had this analysis. They haven't lived out this for long enough. And this genius is it's this natural gift for unlearnable knowing. And it's also the delusion that knowledge is power. It's all going to get smashed on him. He's got a delusion that knowledge is power. And he will use that knowledge to try and wield some power. And when it doesn't quite work all the way around, if we're lucky enough to make sure it goes that way, he will fold quickly, because that genius needs to be in a responsive mode. That gate 2 is the magnetic monopole that drives the vehicle. He will he will find a genius way to drive this vehicle into no jail time, or
he'll cut deals.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And he'll have this natural.
Well, and I'm pretty sure he's got a lot of information on people right now to be cutting deals.
Yep. Now think of this further. It's an open G center. So as soon as others come into his aura, they recognize he is lost. Open G center people aren't literally lost, but others recognize them as potentially lost up on the surface. Not lost like an idiot, not lost like they actually lost their way, but the sense that they want, that there's a sense that they can manipulate their direction.
Absolutely. And he's got an open head.
Yep. So
fill them up with ideas.
Right. So they'll fill them up with ideas and then allow that open G center to drive a new direction. And he will do so masterfully, because as soon as he's in the aura of people investigating or anything like that, as soon as he's in that aura, that G center will be defined. Look, he's got a bunch of gates pointing at it and coming off of it. One of them will be hooked up. He can't be near any one person and not be hooked up. Never mind any two. Any two people, someone hooks him up, and or a transit's hooking him up. And then that head center of his that's open, notice it's got one theme on it, 61.
Mm-hmm.
It's about influence. He's got it. It's a line 5. If you go down the left-hand side, you see 61. It's how he, which is where he makes up the rules of his mores, and the morals by which will guide his compass unconsciously in him is, I want influence. Yep. And it's supposed to be the enlightened father figure that knows and may result in influence and wisdom, because they get to know it over time. Now he has some of that going on. That wisdom will kick in the moment that he has to cave and fold. He will let me fold. But before then, it's this tendency, the pressure in knowing, to basically resent any challenge and demand acceptance. And that's currently what he's living out.
Yeah.
I resent the challenge. I demand acceptance. And when he can't get his demands because he's got no ego to command that demand, he's got a big giant pocketbook. He's got no willpower to make it happen. He's got no sacral to sustain that demand. He's got not enough courage to withstand conflicts as it relates to those demands. So he just buys it. So when you have to buy all the stuff that you're already uncertain about in the first place, tell me, do you end up with a look on your face like that, where your eyes are always slightly red and glossy?
Yeah, I would say that is a very lonely life.
Seriously, what kind of head trip goes on when he can't tell? He's a second line, so he doesn't know what the foundation is of his safety, of his direction, of what his power is fully. He has to keep paying for it. So he knows some things, like he's gotten used to paying for certain things, and then he has that power. He got used to that, so he knows that now. But as soon as someone throws him a curveball with a little English on it, the FBI shows up with under a new capacity. Things come down. We find out that there was other ill-gotten gains going on inside of Facebook as it relates to how they censored the American public. He's going to say, hey, government told me to do this, He's going to distance himself. So, the only thing that's got me wondering if that's true is because his open head center wants that influence so bad, it's under pressure, that when people fill him up with what they want him to know, like the dog, the masters that hold the real strings, what will they put in his head that lights up that not self-desire of his to just be influential? To have this influence in his knowing that just will demand acceptance, and pretend it's like the enlightened father figure that knows what knowable knowing is all about, rather than the person that just says they know and demands acceptance. So he's going to be waffling between those two things. And how he figures it out, he'll figure it out under pressure, under mental pressure, as soon as it comes into his life, to go ahead and steer the right direction creatively, like a little genius. Make sure you don't go to jail. And that sacral will get nervous, and he'll avoid any confrontation that will put him in jail. Or get him in trouble, or get him sued, or get him this, or get him that. At some point in time, they may decide it's a monopoly. And, and if that happens during trials and tribulations where, the citizenry is truly angry and there's real problems, he'll say, sure, chop it up. If that actually comes at a later date when we're back to law and order, then he'll use lawyers to hold it off as long as he can.
Oh, absolutely. He will.
Mm-hmm. Now, this split in his definition. So he's got all this mental stuff, which is currently in charge of his life. That the mental activity in his body graph totally it silences and it squashes and it drowns out the real truth that's adrenalized coming out of his spleen. He's got intuitive awareness in the now. So he's a projector. So he gets an immediate hit over and over and over again as to what's going to suit his purpose. And that's correct for him. Again, if he was 5 years old, you teach him to find the things that suit your purpose. It doesn't mean you become a jerk and so selfish that you'll only do that. It means you learn how to do that in communion with the other kids, right? Mm-hmm. But that wasn't taught that way. So he grew up thinking that his purpose was to go ahead and take it all. That's how Mark, and you want to see where Mark sort of went wrong. That's how it all happens. So the split. Gate 16 is so enthusiastic off of this throat center. Gate 16. Notice it doesn't make it to gate 48. And that's so when you see a chart and there's only one bridging gate, you can be rest assured, just like my chart, I had one bridging gate. You can rest assured so much focuses on trying to be the other thing. And he's so desperately afraid and insecure that he is not the other thing. So afraid that he does anything he can and pays any amount of money to basically have that thing. It's called depth. He already knows he gets enthusiastic, but he knows he doesn't have the depth to actually become all the things people project on him that they think he is. Mm-hmm. They're all looking in, hey, you're this, hey, you're that. And he's so insecure about not having his depth that no matter what it is, he tries to seek depth, be the depth, and just being enthusiastic about the ideas that come through is not good enough. He wants them implemented. He pays for billion-dollar teams to make sure that it all goes a certain way, and people are constantly having to get back to him about the depth of his systems. No matter how much he studies, he doesn't think he has the depth, and it becomes a huge hang-up. And what's it lead to? Inadequacy, inadequacy, inadequacy. Mark Zuckerberg, if he's not in the most controlled of situations, is so fearful of his own inadequacy. At a personal level, in the moment of impact that he has to commune with another, an interview, a setting, a place. He'll come talk on a stage as long as he's got a way in and a way out and a 10-minute clock going and blah, blah, blah. And
top that with a guilty conscience.
Well, right. Right, Jen. Think about that. All the ways in which he has helped foster the lack of communion. What do you got? Someone say something?
Oh, yeah, Lorena. I love what he made his bed and we'll have to lie in it. He won't be able to hide. And they're coming for him, too. That's
our Lorena. Hi, Jane.
I 100% agree. I mean, I am pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure he doesn't get a peaceful night's sleep. And if he does, then he really needs to think about the feelings that he has with that.
Right, because his feelings become installed on whoever conditions him. And he's not aware of that. And look at all the activation pointing at his or on his solar plex. It's all unconscious. It's all unconscious. So he doesn't even know. And the one gate 30, is all about clinging to the feeling. What's he clinging to the feeling of? His gate 35, his expectation of wild success. How? Through all the enthusiasm that he's put forward and the structuring that demands that his influence be the way he says it, and he doesn't accept others because he's not listening. But he has to, because he doesn't have the depth to execute it all. So he just pours money into depth. If we wanted to get a donation from Mark Zuckerberg, it would be, Mark, can you give us a donation? We promise you piles and piles of depth. At the wave of a magic wand, you'll wake up with all the depth you ever wanted in the morning. If you just say this mantra and click your heels 3 times, he'll do it when no one's looking. You know, at least once. So that's the split in his body graph. It's the holy grail.
Money does not buy, it doesn't buy everything.
No, I have a configuration like this where I have a gate 16 and no 40 and no 48, and I concerned myself with depth over and over again, instead of just concerning myself with the fact that gate 16 gets terribly identified with something. And for me, my piano, I wasn't sure I had enough depth to really play like concert pianists and all those amazing people. And so to me, simply practicing over and over again and identifying with a pattern wasn't good enough. Had I let it be good enough, I wouldn't have had that chip on my shoulder. He's already good enough, and he never lets it be good enough because he fears the depth isn't there, and thus he feels inadequate. He's got that going on in a couple of spots because he knows he's got a natural genius, but it still feels inadequate. He knows he thinks about things, that too many things that don't matter, until someone comes and installs the ideas into his open head center, and he still is not sure if he's going to be adequate. Now you add onto that conflict and FBI and world stage and all kinds of in the middle of it all because they're Facebook, and he doesn't know if he has the depth to fix it all. No, this man is loaded down with lots of that kind of nervousness. It's constantly being injected into him. It's funny. Obviously, we're laughing. Human design humor is funny, but I don't wish this on people.
I don't either, but it's kind of karmic.
That's part of what's going on. Don't forget transpersonal karma. He's living out what he hasn't lived out in the past, and he's living out a karma that demands the other. He's living out what other people are putting forward. So he's living out this so he's always out there. He tries to get out of the spotlight, and he can't. He could hide under a rock, and people.
It's literally like we're witnessing him live out his karma.
Yeah, quite literally. So let's look at something else. Let's count up all these number 2s in his body graph. You don't see this very often. There's 11 of them.
Wow. No, you don't see that.
5. So there's 6 there. I think 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10. There was 11.
Yeah, I don't see any more.
Yep. So, but no, it's rare to have any one gate show up more than 7 times. As soon as it starts getting more than 7, that becomes rare. 8 and 9 become super rare. 11 is like wicked rare. I don't know if I've ever seen 12 of the same line, or 12 or 13, but 11 is just so much. He's loaded down with the second line energy. And if you remember last week, the hermit, the Democrat that just wants to sort of like, hey, no, I'm democratic about all this. Whatever you say, oh, you're the feds. You want me to do this? I got an open ego, open solar plex. Okay, I'll do whatever you say. Sure. Someone else, oh, you're all the patriots. You want me to turn it back on? Okay, no, I'm Democrat. Sure, back on. I'll do that. He's democratic about all of that. He's a hermit, so he's got a natural ability to sidestep the norms that we want him to have or that anyone wants out of him. He sidesteps them through isolation. What does he want? His creativity is stifled if there's no harmony. So he's on Joe Rogan trying to take this middle of the road, democratic, hermit-like, harmonious way. Hey, it sucks that we had to do that, he was saying. If I had my choice, I wouldn't want to do any of it. What are we going to do? We have to take a democratic approach. He was even talking about separation of powers and so forth. That's true. He was telling the truth about that. And then he went ahead and gave the BS of, yes, that's why we gave it to the fact checkers. Fact checkers. No, yeah. Yeah. But, part of him actually had to find out, because as soon as he said fact checkers, it's entirely possible people in his organization said, hey, boss, we got fact checkers. As the hermit, he would have checked out and only found out later that they really actually were no good, just so you know. He might not have been at all in charge of making sure they were sucky fact checkers. is what I'm getting at. There's teams of people underneath making
Well,
sure.
fact checkers is a scam in itself.
That's what I'm getting at.
So,
Making sure that fact checkers do what politically they're told.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So I doubt he actually took part in that at first. And then when he found out he was in the soup of it, can you imagine the nervousness of how much depth he doesn't have within the circumstances of that? So how the hell am I going to get out of this? It's crazy. I don't want to be in the middle of all this. You're pulling me out of my shell. I got 11 second lines, man. I'm a second line hermit all the way through, front and back, right side, left side, you name it. I just, how about you? I'm individual, man. Leave me alone. How about just, I'm going to take all the money and you guys do everything I say because that's how I like it. Okay. Oh, that's
right.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't always work that way. Shit. I don't have a full foundation on that not working. I don't have the depth. It didn't work that way. They didn't do exactly what I said. The American people they're mad. I want them to not be mad, and they're saying stuff I don't want to listen. Bigotry is the openness of Mark Zuckerberg shows up in his ability to shut out the other, not in his ability to listen. It's in his ability. His most creative way is in his fine line where he stops listening and he bigots the information coming in. Not bigotry is race. Bigotry is information. I bigot your information. Sorry, I'm done. I heard the first 4 things. I'm not hearing the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So that's why my eyes are glazing over. He doesn't want to be there. Yes. So if you look closely at Mark, whenever you do see him talking and there's stuff going on, especially Senate hearings were good, his eyes have a hard time staying tuned in because he's so loaded down with second lines that just want to tune out. They have bigoted that. Senator Orrin Hatch is talking to him.
He literally is being he's
himself.
A puppet.
Yeah. Well, and in that moment, he is being himself. It's like they keep talking at it says someone bangs a gavel and he snaps to. He's like, what? And he tries to come up with an answer. That's always him. As a kid, it would have been, Mark, blah, 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 what, huh? I think he's married. So his wife has to have gotten used to this by now. So that's a lot. And then so here's the thing. Mark gets stuck in this pattern with an open sacral. He's got a lot of activations on that open sacral. He gets stuck in the patterns of not knowing when enough is enough. Now, that has served him. I don't know when enough is enough, stealing the company from my friends and making it be all kinds of stuff and driving it into a giant international stage. He didn't know when enough is enough with all of that. So that helped him in that way. But mostly it burns him out. As soon as we call Mark out to actually be on the stage, he will burn out over and over and over again. And his values will fall apart. He's got a gate 50, line 4. Want to know what gate 50, line 4 says, Jen?
What does gate 50, line 4 say?
It's in an active spleen, and it's conscious to him. So he's aware that he's going to bend whatever rules he needs. Gate 50, line 4 is called corruption. It's about the values that we're going to have. The cauldron of values uses the historical continuity in traditions. Now, this is a genetic way we have to stack up the values from the past, and it becomes, quote, a cauldron. The I Ching called it a cauldron. We just call it the gate of values because that cauldron of historical values then preserves the values and the rules for the tribe. That's because notice it's tribal. It's in the tribal circuitry, gate 50. Someone has to corrupt the rules sometimes. It's normal to corrupt the rules. Corrupt just means change. So we call the line corruption because Mark will change whatever rules are needed to basically suit his little tribe, which is he, himself, and himself. And maybe a couple friends and then maybe his wife. I don't know. I don't know if they're in love or not. This corruption is the lack of enriching values, meaning I don't want to enrich the current values. The current values say I have to follow these rules. I want to corrupt that. I want something else. Now that's valuable because if the rule is we cut off your hand because you stole a loaf of bread and then we get into the Americas, we don't want to cut off people's hands because they stole a loaf of bread. We want to corrupt that rule and change it. We don't want to have a mandatory minimum because the kid has a dime bag of marijuana, but you got to do 5 years mandatory minimum in the big house. I don't want that rule. And judges, when they don't go by that, they corrupt the rule. That's what this value is supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. Allow for tiny little bits of change so that the values of the tribe can move along with our consciousness. As we evolve, they evolve. That's what's supposed to happen. But in him, it's just, I'm going to change the values. I've got this second gate, second line. That's a natural at changing the values. I can come up with any sneaky little thing I want. I'm influential in my gate 61, and I'm a genius when I can explain what is it I'm talking about, 4323. And I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm struggling for a purpose, so I'm just going to say it anyways until someone finally calls me out for not having the depth to actually be the thing. So he's in this he knows that. He knows he doesn't always have that depth. He knows that he's willing to change the values. He knows that he's willing to be a full-on hypocrite about anything. That 6th line, when it doesn't live out its own nature perfectly and wait for the invitation and as a projector and start to notice the recognition and see the value of your aura, all of these things, when he's not doing that, that 6th line gets called on to become a hypocrite. So that's why when you see his changing values, he's going to get called out for incredible hypocrisy as he gets called out more into the open, if that in fact does happen to him. I assume it will. I assume it will. And I assume
I'm sure it will, because
dude, he's got so many second lines. He will sidestep the Senate's behavioral requirements to have him appear, and he'll barely show up. He's gonna find a natural way to get around all of this. I don't know if it'll be successful, but that's an incredible power because it is in his profile, and the keynoting of it is the successful sidestepping of others' requirements through isolation. The successful sidestepping. I mean, that's not a guarantee that you're successful sidestepping. I'm just saying that's what tends to happen.
He's probably going to turn over a lot of information on people.
I hope he sings like a canary because he's got everything. He's got all the right aspects to not know when enough is enough and lose track of the stupid ideas they put in his head and want to take the right direction that doesn't get him in any more trouble and avoid the conflict and prove that he could do the right thing. And sing like a canary. That's what we hope. So, guys, that was the key. I just keynoted all of his open, not self-centers.
Yes, so, that was excellent keynoting.
Yeah, that one worked out good. The last thing about Mark Zuckerberg is I see he's got this interesting variable. Okay. So his consciousness is strategic and focused. He thinks he wants to get this thing done this way, but he doesn't have the depth. I'm focused on this thing, and I see this focus, that bottom left-facing arrow on the personality side. I'm focused on this thing, and I strategically want to get at it, and suddenly he goes over to the left-hand side of his body graph, and his arrows are pointing to the right.
Yeah.
Notice these arrows are pointing in on each other. This is a conflict. It's an incredible conflict that's so easy to get caught up in because his brain is taking in all kinds of information, and he can't always do anything with that because it's just taking it in. His view, his environment, too much data is constantly coming in, and he thinks he needs to focus in on one sharp aspect of that. And he tries to go in there and get it, and he can't get it out himself. He is stuck for words a lot. And you can tell how excited he gets when he has something he can run with. He suddenly gets, and you saw it in that clip, he gets a straight face, and he starts saying, yeah, no, we wouldn't want that, and da-da-da, because I feel the separation of powers. Great. He had a concept that he had practiced his depth on, and suddenly he's no longer a surface veneer, and he runs for about 15 seconds, but then Joe comes and asks another question. And boom, he's back into this very confusing variable inside of him that again, if anyone who has this variable, the variable itself is perfect. It's just when you don't live out your design and you start to wonder, how come I think so many things, but I can't strategically take advantage of them all? Another thing he hires teams for. Guys, I've lost track of the things. I strategically want this, that, and the other thing. I know I had it all, but I can't spit it all out. And I don't want to sound like a freak. And you guys have the depth for me. So go figure it out. Let me know. In fact, let someone else know, and they'll come let me know. I'm a hermit. He's not in his office all the time. If he is, that door is closed. There's a secret bat entrance on the way in.
Probably. I was going to say there's a secret entrance.
He gets helicopter lifted in and out, so he doesn't have to necessarily see anybody. If he goes in, he just beelines, hi, past everyone. Unless there's something going on, and he tries to not look anyone in the eye because that'll be a conflict that he can't prove his value and find the right direction in. No, yes. So Mark's not Mr. Eye Contact. I mean, unless he's called into it. That doesn't mean he's always that way. It just means that don't count on holding his eye contact. I mean, I imagine his mother at times might have thought, oh my dear Lord, I wonder if my boy is, a little bit on the spectrum. Can't look at me. So if you're Mrs. Mark, if you notice that your husband sometimes isn't always looking directly at you, it's because, he doesn't want to. So he doesn't want to look at anybody except only on his terms. And that's what that variable helps highlight in him. Now, the very last thing I'll do is I'll do his incarnation cross. Gate 6, 43. You see how on the right-hand side, he's got 23, 43? 43 just wants to break through. That's all. Break through. It's called breakthrough. Let me break through. I will be a living role model if I can have my breakthrough. Now, that's true for him. But all of his breakthrough is spent serving the not self of the open centers, he's breaking through on all the stuff he could care less to break through on. Bitterness leads to bitterness. He doesn't want to have to do things. Every word that got picked apart in that Joe Rogan episode that we just saw a clip of, he's home bitterly chewing over, or if he's smart, he turned it all off and tried to forget about it. One of the two. Mm-hmm. And gate 23 is all about, it says the gift horse. Gate 23 is fusion. It's this amorality. Amorality, because you can't have morality when you're trying to explain insights, because any insight can come through. So the line is called amorality, literally. He doesn't have to turn up with the most moral thing to explain. He has to turn up with the explanation and then figure out the morality later. Well, if you lose track of when you're supposed to figure out the morality later because you're a hermit, because you're trying to hide and you don't want the conflict and you're not sure what you can prove because you're thinking about too many things that don't matter, then you don't think you have the depth to go ahead and state what your morality is. He's not going to state any of that. He doesn't even know necessarily what it is. It's called fusion, the gradual attunement to diversity through the synthesis of bringing others together. Individual knowing, which brings diversity to synthesis, or, in his case, individual knowing that holds on to diversity and loses power because of its lack of expression. And what does Mark do? He stops expressing. Yeah. He just turns off. He gets bitter so fast, he turns off.
I bet he experiences that bitterness a lot.
A lot is the thing, and I would worry for him over that matter. You know what I mean? But he dug this hole. You know what I mean? He dug this hole. This right angle cross of dedication. The thing is, he's already lived it out. He got dedicated to a thing he felt called into, and he structured it into place. That's what this cross is supposed to do. That's Facebook.
That's exactly what Facebook
So
is.
he's already lived out his cross. The thing is, when you don't live out the rest of your nature, your cross gets lived out, and you suffer the burning at the cross in between living that out, while basically your cross takes you for a ride rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
So you got taken for a ride, bro. Get yourself out of the hot water, Mark. You're still
it's way too late for that.
No, it's not. No, it's not too late. I mean, it's never too late. Up until your dying day, it's never too late to try to get out, to try. I'm not saying he's gonna, Jen. I'm not holding out. I'm not naive. I'm just speaking.
Oh, I know. I know you're not.
Yeah,
even if he sings canary, if he buys his way out of this, if he hires the most attorneys, a lot of the stuff, he has contributed to crimes against humanity. We haven't even touched the stuff they are censoring stuff, but yet if you look at what they are showing the kids, that's a whole different ballpark.
Oh my God. There's stuff that they're showing kids that just doesn't belong in front of children at this point. It's insane.
Exactly. So it's a lot of Facebook itself. It has brought a lot of people together. There has been positive. There's always a positive within a negative as well. But I'm all for people actually changing, but that does not stop the
there's no reason
karma
for him
that
to
comes
change.
back.
No, there's no reason for him to change yet. He hasn't been put under the pressure that will require the change.
Right. And I
So
feel like I feel there will be a day that he will, definitely. And that's going to be interesting. Knowing his design now, I'm definitely stocking up on popcorn because that man has a lot of things to
he will
speak
creatively
about.
try to say nothing, Jen. He's a second line magnet. He will creatively try to say nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So
Good
so
job.
anything else you want to know about Senor Zuckerberg?
I cannot think of anything.
He gets caught up in contagion. He gets caught up in saying yes and the contagiousness of feelings that just want to be let free. He wants his feelings set free. I guess I should point that out. That's his design, Sun Earth. Set my feelings free. I'll say yes. You want me to censor things? I'll say yes. You want me to stop? I'll say yes to that too. The gate of saying yes. That yes is about the sacral perseverance to commit to something, by the way. And it's in an open sacral. So he doesn't know when enough is enough after he said yes to the wrong thing. Oops. And then he clings to the feeling of it all and wonders why his expectations don't get met.
Yeah.
So there, we're done with Mark.
Great job. Very, very.
I feel bad for him still. I don't know what that's all about. I didn't feel so bad for Klaus Schwab and Hillary, and I didn't feel bad for Jen Psaki very much.
Jen Psaki.
Yeah.
Mark, yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what to. I don't need to know. Yay.
No, you do not need to know. That is right. So, excellent job. Definitely, if something comes up, they start pressing Mr. Zuckerberg, it'll be interesting to come back to this video to see how it
He'll be the first one or the second one marching with an American flag saying, "This is what I meant all along."
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say, to see what happens. So, yeah, great job. Let's see if we got any comments.
Fun, Jen? This one was fun. I liked it.
This one was fun. Lorena says he has to ask for forgiveness or it can't be given to him. I completely agree with that.
Jane. Yes, Jane.
And he hasn't seen the error of his ways. No. And I agree with that too. I don't think a lot of them have. But that's because he literally can live in a world where he can pay any amount of money right now and get away with whatever.
I'm getting the feeling that there's these two layers of puppetry. There's a couple of layers. There is the real puppeteers that are like, they've got generational everything, right?
It's a pyramid.
And then the puppeteers that the Zuckerbergs of this world fit into.
Yes.
That so many fit into this, they're huge. But he mentioned stakeholderness, so I know they've already offered him stakeholderness because he started introducing that word in that very interview.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep. So if you're a patriot out there, go and find your local assembly and join it.
Absolutely.
Join your state's assembly.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. This was a very enjoyable episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it as well. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. And what was the title for Sunday's show? Do you remember?
Did I send it yet?
I thought you did.
Oh, you hang tight just 1 second, young lady. We need to say the title for Sunday's show. I don't think I had it fully, but it was Human Design, God, and the Bible.
That's right.
How they intersect.
Yes. I'm really excited to be doing that.
Yeah, let's start putting out little posts. I'll put something on my Instagram. Human Design, God, and the Holy Bible. It's important because these are all historically important things that have been in our life for a long time. And we could add in the Quran. We could add in all of the Holy Scriptures along with all of the even important things, right?
Human Design is based on the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. And if you get into learning about that, it is very biblical. You can tie that in. So,
we're going to, I'm excited about Sunday's show, and we actually have the title now already. So let's promote it, everyone. Human design, God,
Absolutely.
and the Bible, how they intersect.
That's going to be a great one to do. Hope you guys can join us on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will post the show tomorrow so that you can, hit the notification button and all those things that you guys know how to do. And again, make sure you go check us out. So get your HDA gear. We've got some new stuff up in the shop. And thank you again. And we hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye
Jennifer.
now. Bye.